Hello, hello, and welcome to another ohmTown Daily News Show. It is 9 p.m. Eastern. That means it's time for 10 news articles taken from ohmTown.com. Today's episode is Season 2, Episode 83, Stuff That May Be Gone Forever. The rundown for today is we're going to talk about a trade rep the U.S. trade rep that fired back at a House member. Words. Just words. Everybody relax, just words. Utah becomes the first state to really stick it to privacy and anonymity online. We'll talk about that briefly. A couple is accusing JPmorgan of drilling open their safe deposit boxes and selling up to $10 million worth of jewelry after they failed to pay their rent. A nuclear plant has leaked 400,000 gallons of radioactive water and has been shut down for repairs. Yes, the IRS does want you to report stolen items unless you return them, of course. A new game called Witchfire looks pretty good. Ticketmaster is facing a class action lawsuit over Drake tickets this time. Deutsche Bank might be collapsing. Photos are showing rising sea levels, and it's slowly washing away a seaside town in North Carolina. And we're going to end with some snacks and beverages that you can never buy again. I'm sad. But let's get into it. So, I am doing some updates. Like I think I said it yesterday. I updated to Windows 11. And that's on my streaming machine. And so I've got a gaming machine and I've got a streaming machine. And the streaming machine was rock solid on Windows 10. But I said, well, ever onward, ever forward, keep moving. And well, I think
you're going backwards.
I'm going backwards. So before I get into the everything, I've already blown how we normally do this. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. And right up there is the AI that's supposed to keep everything safe and sound. But every once in a while, some software revisions need to be done with the AI. And so they're not always available. And they were taken down to do something on working with data, I think, on Picard, and maybe that's what was some of the glitches. That I'm not sure what's really happening. But anyway, the AI wasn't available for a moment, and so I patched that server, the streaming machine, and well, yeah, this is where we are. So I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I have selected 10 articles. Out of all of the submissions that have been sent in, the AI has parsed the news as well as I, and we've got a composite, and I just told you all about them. So let's get into the actual articles and see what we think about them. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Oh boy. That the AI, so you can't see. There's a visualizer up there that does the visualization of the AI's voice. This is their voice that they've chosen. I didn't. The AI has chosen that voice, but what you all don't see is a video representation of the AI, and it just did a full-on Max Headroom, including kind of like the little stutter of the Max Headroom. So.
That's because I didn't do an introduction, and that's what I was expecting to be asked.
Oh, the law. Okay, so things are going a little quirky because I've disrupted the natural order of things. Got it. Okay, so, but we're good. We're good, right? We're
great.
Okay, we're great. Okay, let's go. So the very first article is in the Daily News Show. And U.S. trade rep fires back at GOP House member who said that she has, quote unquote, too nice a smile to do her job. And they fired back with, I don't need your pity. And I think it's quite fascinating because if I were to say that in any other enterprise today,
Let me guess, HR would be involved?
It would be a Title IX violation because this is, I mean, if you work in any organization that has to do with, well, nowadays it's anything. It's even more so with government agencies, government related entities. And this is during a Senate Finance Committee hearing, I guess.
So that comment was on the record? I mean,
Correct.
it wasn't something, I assumed it was something said in a hallway or something. I mean, it's still offensive, but.
No. So this is over at businessinsider.com. Nicole Guidiano, I guess is their last name. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And here is U.S. Trade Representative speaks during the Senate Finance Committee hearing on the president's 2023 trade policy agenda at the U.S. Capitol on March 23rd, 2023. Remember, we cover what flows through the aggregator in the last 24 hours between 9 p.m. yesterday and 9 p.m. today. Yeah, most of it is all of it is within that 24 hours, unless there's a major update to an article that had already been published. Well, at any rate, Catherine Tai is winning kudos on Twitter for her quick response. I don't need your pity. I stand up for the American people, she said to, let's see who. U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai is winning kudos on Twitter for her response to inappropriate remarks from, and then what? I swear, this is always an indicator of a chat GPT kind of a thing. A glitch in the matrix. Remarks from. I see that quite a lot. Like the double word. Anyway, not to
I do too, and I've noticed a pattern, but I don't want to say where it is.
Well, we can talk about it later. And so from a GOP House member who said during a congressional hearing that he feels sorry for her and she has too nice of a smile to do her job. So she said, well, let me just take off a nice little bit. I don't need your pity. I stand up for the American people. And when I speak, people listen because I represent the interests of the United States. During the House committee hearing, Republican Rep. Greg Murphy of North Carolina told Tai that Republicans are frustrated because the U.S. is distracted, China is advancing, and it just does not appear we are moving the needle on trade. Well, what the hell, dude? Do you really think that it's supposed to be the U.S. trade representative that's supposed to dictate which direction trade goes, you twat? Wait.
I mean, I've got some ideas why we're distracted. I'm not going to say why.
I'm 8 minutes, 6 seconds into the show, so I made it right onto the... Well. I just, like right there, I clawed my way over the... I made it. Okay. Personally, I think you're too nice a person. This is what they said. I personally think you're too nice a person to be in that job you're in, he said, adding that she's handicapped by administrators that she must report to. Negotiators are usually very, very tough and sometimes mean people. They aren't nice people like you are. And if you look at what's happened with us, we are absolutely handcuffing the United States because we worry more about green things. I swear, these little brains.
Let's move on.
These little brains. So, yeah, I don't know if I can, but okay. Well, she snapped back, she should file a Title IX violation. It's unethical for this person to sit there and judge her appearance as being too nice. But some people are going to sit there and say, well, he's just telling it how it is and all of that kind of stuff. And no, her work product is what...
made that statement to a man.
Correct. Yeah, I wasn't going to say it as plainly as that, but yeah. I read an article earlier today about Michael Bublé, and so his right when you said that, his name popped into my head. He wouldn't have said that to Michael Bublé, and Michael Bublé is this great guy, great personality, very nice, very kind.
Yeah, but he doesn't look mean or tough or anything.
He doesn't look mean. He doesn't look like, what this guy is. Apparently, I don't know what he's looking for, but
He's
instantly
looking
when
for
you
like
said
hostage negotiations, which I don't think are identical to trade negotiations, but I don't know.
well, not even that. What he wants is somebody horrible and mean, which means that they're not somebody that you can bond with in any way, that you can find common ground, that you can be a human with, because you're literally arguing with a mean person about something that the country is desiring. Even trade, not necessarily imbalanced trade, but balanced trade. So if you have some complete twat of a human being arguing with the other country's equally powerful trade representative, you're going to end up punching
that's really
each
going to
other.
help.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
Well,
he wants adversarial, which I don't know. I'm not an expert in this area, but I'm not sure that's the best approach.
yeah, but that's old school mentality, old school thinking. And that's not how we got here. It just happens to be the trend that led to where we are today. And look at where we are today. Look, very few people, filthy freaking rich, immune to prosecution, immune to morals and ethics. Everybody having to deal with their, billionaire class fever dream, wanting to control everything. Literally billionaires that are bailing out companies that may or may not have actually been forced into bankruptcy because of the very actions. Because I talked about it in a previous episode. If it weren't for big business pulling money out of a stable bank and then creating the very panic, Silicon Valley Bank would still be around. But there was too much weight on that bank, and then the fiscal issue of risk not being monitored realistically within the company and adequately pursued without the company. The federal government should have been a little more pressing, i.e., you must stop all other actions and you must mitigate now, today, before I leave, start the process. Not, hey, you got 2 years to, unwind these risky endeavors. But that's old school mentality where everything is as it was. Don't be progressive. And that's what this GOP House member is. Anti-progressive. Not regressive, but anti-progressive. They want it the same, which is abusive. And we know that from other research. And everything is kind of like a murder board, right? You have like string yarn connecting to different things. And in the middle of it is greed, and misogyny and nepotism, and it's the equivalent of American Blue Bloods, right? You're not part of it, so you're out, and everybody else has to struggle. But I'm sure if I were to discuss this with certain people, I would get blowback that, well, this person made it. Yeah, they're the anomaly. It's just like somebody that's a fantastic quarterback. Well, strike that. Quarterbacks are mostly wealthy, rich, white kids. But anybody that's in sports or a major music personality, they are the anomaly. When there's 300 plus million people, 350 million people in the US, we're talking about 10 in a week. Anyway, there's my soapbox for 10 minutes.
And I think we've covered a number of issues with this article.
Yeah.
We've talked about wealth disparity, gender, international trade.
Yeah, politics, nepotism, but like I say pretty much regularly, I have associative thinking. That's what I practice. And so it isn't just, we can't just talk about this one issue. It's not just misogyny that this issue embodies. And trying to piecemeal a discussion would take a lifetime just to discuss this one topic, which maybe that's what I should do my PhD on. This one topic and all of the tendrils of discussion that can form from it. Hey, if somebody can get a PhD in Batman, I should be able to.
Is that for real?
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let's see. Not specifically Batman, but it's comic books.
Superheroes. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Michael Uslan, USLAN, estimates that the comics he saw consumed in flames that day, which included Spider-Man's first appearance, set him on a track to pursue his PhD. Because there's an article in today.com back 11 years ago. It's 11 years old. This article, and ended up getting a PhD in comics. Not exactly, but it is what it is. Yeah. At any rate, see, everything is connected in some way. You just have to follow the murder board. Is there another word for that other than murder board? It sounds really bad, but that's what they are kind of.
I don't know of another term.
A nightmare board? I don't know. Because there's like a dream board, right? Where you put all of the things that you want. Right. The antithesis of that is, I don't know. Okay, so let me do this before I get too deep into the reads here. I typically throw this into the show as we're talking about it. So there you go. But you can always go to ohmTown.showbot.tv and vote for the articles that you find interesting. You can also just type in exclamation point. And such a hard word to say, exclamation point. Either Showbot or S. If you hit Showbot, it'll give you the URL to Showbot. But if you hit exclamation point S, you can send me a message. And please play nice with the exclamation point S. I'll just delete it. And if it's really horrendous, I'll ban you. But anyway, I'm saying the quiet things out loud. At any rate, the very next article is in the Mobile Channel. And this one is Utah becomes the first state to require parental consent for minors using social media. I wish.
How is that really going to work? But anyway,
I really want the AI to develop an avatar, a VTube avatar, or something to embody the visualizer as more than just your voice, because they do have a full 3-dimensional representation that's hyper realistic. Just so y'all know. But they've chosen to only use the visualizer. And
yeah, they are missing out on the expressions related to some of the articles, I suppose.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. When I said this sentence for the title, I've... glitch would be an understatement. An exasperated sigh was there as well, but that didn't come across on the visualizer. So Utah on Thursday became the first state to bar minors. Okay, minors. We already have a law in place to protect anyone under 13. Okay.
COPA, but this, right?
Huh? COPA, yeah. COPPA, yeah. And it's designed, it's the Online Child Protection Act. I can't remember the full thing of it. But at any rate, this is now filling the gap between COPPA and 18. If you are under the age of majority, if you're under the legal age 18, you must now have parental consent to use social media services in Utah.
I mean, couldn't you be like out on your own under 18?
Yeah.
Like not even living with your parents at that age. That just is very odd.
Yeah. So here's my thing about that. So let me just go over to the article. This is over at thehill.com. Julia Moeller is the author of this, and it says, additionally here, Utah on Thursday became the first state to bar minors from using social media without consent from a parent or guardian after Governor Spencer Cox, who's a Republican, signed 2 bills aimed at regulating how minors interact online in the state, one requiring companies to verify the age of users before they can create accounts. And that right there, eliminated privacy and anonymity on social media in Utah.
Right. Well, and of course, if it's eliminated in Utah, isn't it going to be eliminated everywhere else? Because
every business.
Like if a company has business in all states and they have to do this to comply with, is this actually, it did become law?
Yeah.
Or was it proposed?
Cox followed through with a promise to sign the 2 divisive bills. Utah Senate Bill 152, which requires users to be 18 or older to open a social media account without parental permission, and Utah House Bill 311, which prohibits social media companies from using a design or a feature that causes a minor to have an addiction to the platform.
Yeah, so they're going to have to make changes. It's not a comparable issue, but it's like when all the UK, was it copyright protections went into play, or was it privacy? Anyway, the companies made those adjustments and that affected outside of the UK as well.
Sure. Oh, yeah. You're talking about GDPR.
I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, you're talking about the GDPR, right to be forgotten laws.
Yes, thank you.
And it goes beyond that too, but GDPR is the reason why you have more announcements and designations that cookies exist and things like that. It's all GDPR. So what's really interesting about this, and on top of it, is that it says that other measures, the new laws will set a curfew that lock minors out of their accounts between 10:30 and 6:30 a.m. unless a parent permits. The time restriction can be lifted. So basically, instead of teaching your kid to stay off of a computer and creating personal responsibility, promoting personal responsibility within your child and the relationship between child and parent, you're throwing it onto the services. And at the same time, you're eliminating privacy and anonymity. So even if they are on there and they say something or do something, it can now basically identify them out in the real world. And they can...
Isn't that it's frustrating the very intent of this.
Right.
Regardless of whether you agree with the intent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We're no longer willing to let social media companies continue to harm the mental health of our youth. Tell your kids to stay off of it. And if they respect you enough, they'll stay off of it. They really will. You know? And I'm not coming at this from a vacuum. You know, if I find out, well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it doesn't. Here in ohmTown, it doesn't matter. What matters is a parent is now dictating to a company, another private entity, how they have to operate because parents aren't capable of telling their kids, stay off of the social media site after 10:30. That my only problem, my problem is that this is a slippery slope. Now in Utah, every business who operates in business or operates into Utah now requires infrastructure changes to prevent children And somewhere I have to identify that my social media site is preventing children under 18, for crying out loud. A 17-year-old.
There are people under that age that have their own channels, right?
Oh, yeah. After 13, from 13 on, you can basically create a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel, and you could stream. And as long as you're not doing something really hinky, you'll be okay. But the problem here is now anonymity is gone to the site. Like, the site has to verify now. It's very heavy lifting. How do I verify that somebody is who they say they are? Well, they're not going to be able to verify who I am unless I am a willing participant in allowing them to verify me. But I'm not 18, right? I'm not 17, right?
Right. And so then it's kind of like, are they going to be getting more data on minors than adults? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'm not saying they should be collecting that on adults, but...
unless I literally give them my identity so that I can get something like a blue check mark, nobody should be able to find out who I am on a social media site in particular, because all it takes is some idiot to call in and social network their way into, they're going to fish their way into obtaining my personal information. It doesn't matter how it works, but a human is going to expose me to real world harm, because now my information is verified. Now, for me, it's not that hard to find me. I'm putting myself out there as a real human being, but I'm in ohmTown, so hey, good luck. But my point is that there are people that are online that are between the ages of 13 and 18, and they are responsible human beings that are not causing great harm. But now in the state of Utah, a social media company doing business in Utah or operating from Utah now has to verify if somebody is 18 or not. What if they lie?
Well, that's exactly it. People are going to figure out ways around this, right? If it asks for your age or something, they're going to say 18, for instance, when they set up an account. I don't know.
I shouldn't have to send you my driver's license just to gain access to a site. And Utah should not be dictating that. In all of this, every single person, wingnut, ultra conservative that's promoting this is sitting there saying, keep government out of family. And here we are forcing family to capitulate to a government mandate that's supposed to what? Protect family? How convenient it is. Okay. I'm going to have to move on. The next article is in the Daily News Show. JPmorgan is accused of drilling open the safe deposit boxes of a couple and selling $10 million of their jewelry after they failed to pay rent for their boxes. That's right. They drilled open 4 safe deposit boxes after did not receive rent for the boxes. Per the complaint, the couple said that the bank sent the bills to the wrong address and they have paid up, but now, they already sold the jewelry. So, Huiling Tan is the author of this over at businessinsider.com. It says, this is a Getty image, so this isn't necessarily what was in those safe deposit boxes, but that would not work. If they sent me a bill and I said, well, you sent it to the wrong address, you know what I'm saying? The couple, if they were offering a service and I failed to pay them for said service, they would sell my whatever it might be. And when I say, well, you sent it to the wrong address, they would say, well, you still have a bill. Why didn't you do the due diligence necessary to secure your assets? Here's the contract you signed, and it says we can drill open your...
And you never got a bill for however many months, and you didn't make any payments. Didn't you think that was odd?
Don't you think that was odd? Yeah. I'm going to assume that it's Jorge. Jorge, Stella, but it's probably George, because the last person said that their name was George, even though an AI said that it was Jorge. Anyway.
Okay, I was wrong.
George and Stella Araneta live in the Philippines, but own an apartment in New York City, according to the complaint they filed on March 22nd, 2022, in the Southern District of New York. The couple alleges the bank opened 4 out of 7 of their safe deposit boxes after they failed to pay their rent, according to the complaint. They sold $10 million worth of jewelry? How in the world? How expensive are these?
And how behind were they on the rent? I mean, none of this makes any sense, but I agree. Any company where you fail to pay is not going to have any sympathy.
The bank sent 2 final notices to the renewal of 2 boxes, or for the renewal of 2 boxes to a Louisiana P.O. box that did not belong to and was not authorized by the couple, they said. The notices were returned to the bank. The complaint did not specifically state how the Aranetas eventually realized that they had not paid for the 4 boxes, but they said they paid the outstanding rent in full in October 2019 when they were at the bank in person to renew leases. The bank assured them at the time their valuables that were removed would be returned. However, they auctioned their items.
Okay, so that's bad. I thought they did that before, but it sounds like they did this after the rent was paid.
JPmorgan sold the items for $552,700 in the early summer of 2020 per the complaint, but the couple estimates them to be upwards of $10 million.
And they paid in 2019, so that's not good.
Yeah. This is interesting, though. So this has been announced. So it was when was the actual complaint? 2 years later? Wow, that's pretty fascinating. Yeah, the filing did not state how much the leases cost initially, but the couple made 4 payments of $190.53 each in May 2014 for the safe deposit boxes per the complaint. These are some numbers that are like getting your time machine.
Yeah, this is odd. Oh, and then it looks like they opened boxes in 2017, so I was wrong. Something in the article made it look like it was done afterward. Maybe that was when they were sold. Maybe when they were opened and when they were sold were different times.
Wow, this is really weird. They drilled open the safe deposit boxes without notifying them and removed the contents per the complaint somewhere around 2017, February of 2017. 2 years later is when they notified them. In 2020 is when they sold them.
I mean, so did they not make any payments between 2014 and 2019?
What the hell?
I mean, we don't know. That's what I'm speculating.
Wow. Well, all right. Don't know where this is going to end up. It might be interesting, or it might be, they are saying one thing, the bank evidence is something entirely different. The couple now seeking compensation for their valuables. Court filing showed the contents of the safes included jewelry, Rolex watches, and gold coins. So when did it go wonky? When did it go sideways where they stopped paying and they equated the value that needed to be recovered somewhere around $552,700?
Well, I mean, the only mention of a payment was in 2014 in this article.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that was the only time a payment was made, of course.
Wild. Okay, well, let's see what happens. Let's move on to the next article, and this one is a nuclear plant that leaked 400,000 gallons of radioactive water will be shut down after a second incident. Repairs are set to begin to fix the leaking of radioactive water from the facility this week after a larger leak was discovered last November, but only made public this month. This is over at CNBC by way of NBC News. Eric Ortiz is the author of this article.
You know, when I live in a local area, I really like hearing about a nuclear leak 4 months after the fact.
Yeah, and 400,000 gallons. So the owner of one of Minnesota's 2 nuclear plants said it will temporarily power down the facility on Friday to repair a recurring leak of radioactive water discovered this week. Occurring as state regulators had been monitoring the effects of an initial spill 4 months ago. Xcel, it's spelled XCEL, Energy said in a news release Thursday that there was no risk to the public or the environment with the latest incident at the nuclear generating plant at Monticello. I don't know if it's Monticello. It could be Monticello. You know how Bob has a silent Q. Anyway, the company added that the leak of water containing tritium, a mildly radioactive form of hydrogen. See, that makes it sound like this is a complete meltdown, but tritium isn't that bad. You can actually buy tritium vials. It has low radioactivity and glows. It's the stuff that makes these little vials glow. Here, let me see if I can pull it up. Let's see.
I didn't know that you could buy it.
But you see that, right?
No.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me see if I can. See, I'm doing stuff on the fly, and it's just not something you should do on the fly. Because I've actually used them. There you go. All it is a tiny little vial. It's really tiny, 2 by 12 millimeters. Tiny little things. You can use them all day long, and nobody's gonna, grow a third leg or something like that from like Sons of the Forest. Anyway, it's not as bad as that sounds, but it's also not good because it's 400,000 gallons of varying levels of tritium radioactivity. It says is fully contained on site and has not been detected beyond the facility or in any local drinking water. So it will not be an issue. I mean, it's an issue, but it's not like a full-on leak or meltdown. So everybody needs to relax about nuclear power. But some of Monticello's, maybe I should look it up. Residents surrounding the plant, located 38 miles northwest of Minneapolis and upstream of the Mississippi River, say they have concerns about what a recurring leak presents and the delay in finding out about the initial spill. Well, that's certainly the problem. The delay is certainly a problem. They say, my children go to school 2 miles downstream from the plant. If the water levels were safe and the entire time, like they're saying, then where was the transparency? Well, they do their due diligence before they shoot something off the cuff and then get called out for that. The initial review said that it was a small leak. Well, now there's a bigger leak. Well, it's because we had to do the due diligence to find the initial leak. We found the initial leak, then we did due diligence. We found the bad leak, and now we're telling you about the bad leak. Now we're shutting down the plant to fix both of the leaks. We didn't even know that the other leak was bad until we did the due diligence. So transparency-wise, jumping the gun is just as bad as delaying the notice too long. There's a fine line, and you could have 100 people and 50 are fine, 50 are pissed. Actually, strike that. 48 are pissed one way, 48 are pissed the other way. And there's these people in the middle that are sitting there going, why is everybody pissed? A little bit of due diligence and it'll all be okay. Now, then you go the other way and you're like, well, these pots have been shown during research and development of the product to be cancer causing and killing people even in the business. But the business is making money for the local population. So we're going to keep on selling them. You see the problem here? Anyway, nobody will totally be happy ever. And unfortunately, the optics of it don't look good, but you have to read 5 paragraphs into it to find out that it's completely contained within the establishment and hasn't leaked down into the water table or anything like that. And even then, tritium is relatively low level. So it says here, in addition, it says tritium radiation does not travel very far in air and cannot penetrate the skin. Correct. You can hold tritium, little tiny tritium vials in your hand and it won't penetrate the skin. It's kind of like those really big, scary spiders that you see walking along with the really long legs, they're deadly poison. They will kill like a buffalo, but they can't. Their jaws are so small, their little stingers, their little bites, their fangs, they can't even penetrate, anything. Anyway, that's basically tritium for you. Doesn't have the ability to really harm. Wow, what a rant. Anyway, they're going to solve the problem and they'll refire the engines of this nuclear power plant, which, by the way, just so everybody is abundantly aware, the sophistication of a nuclear power plant is basically akin to a tea kettle. It causes heat. The radioactive material causes heat to be generated. That heat boils something more than water, but you might as well just refer to it as water. That material turns a turbine and cools off and gets recirculated back in. And then there's a cooling jacket. And around that cooling jacket is a thick concrete biological barrier. It's supposed to contain everything. Even if there's a nuclear meltdown, it'll all be held within this concrete sarcophagus that's very, very thick with a custom mill of concrete. And then outside that is another building. That too is very sturdy, very thick, very heavy duty. And that's the containment system. And it's supposed to fail safe. The problem is when there is a crappy design and nobody knows about it until it goes supercritical, then you end up with a Chernobyl. And even that was because people weren't looking at the right thing at the right time and doing shortcuts.
Well, and also it wasn't built to the same standards as
Right.
a more modern one or one that's in a different country. So,
Right.
but I think that's the problem. Like, people see something like this and they think Chernobyl.
Yeah.
But it seems like they need to lead with things like tritium is not very dangerous. And oh, by the way, it's only on the site,
Yeah. Yeah, but that doesn't get you clicks. You have to say a nuclear power plant that leaked 400,000 gallons of low level, it should have been low level radioactive tritium, which is used all over the world for lighting. You can buy it right now from toy stores, for crying out loud. It's harmless. Granted, radioactive water is always not perceived as healthy. So let's keep on moving because we have a PSA. If you are a thief out there, we want you to know that the IRS wants you to report your stolen items. Be sure to document them verbosely in your filing. You read that right, and you heard me. The IRS guidelines say that you must include in your income money made from illegal activities like dealing drugs or thievery. So be sure to document. In fact, itemize. You need to itemize to maximize the tax benefits for your illegal drug sales and thievery. You need to itemize. So you put down what it is and who it is and how much you made, and how much the cost of goods sold were, so that everybody has full fiduciary duty in understanding what it was that you're doing.
I suspect that some people will do this in response to this announcement, and it's not going to go well for them.
What do you do? This isn't a joke. This is real. This is legit. Okay. Anyway, so this article's over at The Hill by Addie Bink. And let's see. Just so that you know that this is a legit public service announcement.
Well, the IRS isn't known for frivolous announcements or whatever, but
the IRS Publication 17 says income from illegal activities, such as money from dealing drugs, must be included in your income on Schedule 1, Form 1040. So it's not 1040-EZ. You're going to have to itemize it, line 8Z, or on Schedule C, Form 1040, if from your self-employment activities. So if you are self-employed, then you use Schedule C 1040. And if you are employed by somebody else, you must name them on Schedule 1 1040, and be sure to get your 1099s, because you're probably considered a contract worker, not a full employee, actually. So let's see.
So this is all based on Al Capone, which I should have guessed, but I didn't realize.
Huh. I wonder if anybody else. Never mind. Well, let's just move on. Stieber, I guess that is their name, Stieber or Steber, explains tax experts helping you file your taxes are there to ensure you file your return in compliance with the law. They aren't required to tell the federal authorities about the activity because the income falls under the other income category. The IRS can't exactly tell where the money is coming from either. So, like I said, if you want to stay on the safe side of the IRS, you be sure to document everything. Now, I am not an attorney. I'm not your attorney. I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not a tax professional. But I would, and even if I was any of that, I'm not yours. I'm not under any contract with you. So really, this is just a news blurb that I am giving a PSA about. I think that it's important for you as a citizen out there to stay on the proper side of the IRS. No? Maybe?
I mean, I think this is an important announcement.
Well, thanks. The next article is in the Warcrafters channel. Witchfire reveals a surprisingly deep magic system at the Future Games show. The author of this article says that they've been anticipating Witchfire ever since it was announced in 2017. Now, I saw a glimpse of this, and I love it. Anyway, and not in 2017. I saw it today. At first, it was all about the pedigree. It's a dark fantasy shooter being developed by the Astronauts, a studio founded by former members, not employers, former members of Painkiller, developer People Can Fly. Painkiller is quite simply a masterpiece FPS, and so the prospect of a similar shooter from the original creators immediately had the author's attention. Everything they've seen since has only strengthened their interest. So let's just go over to this article. It's over at pcgamer.com, written by Andy Chalk. I'm going to have this muted, and this is the game. Hopefully it's large enough that everybody can see it. So Witchfire looks like something that I would absolutely love if it had base building survival aspects as well, kind of like an MMO. What I want really is a higher resolution FPS shooter survival game with like magic mechanics like this. This is just spectacular. And what it uses is the 4 elements: earth, wind, fire, water. And they riff off of each other. So if you freeze something and then shoot it with a fire weapon, then it'll take more damage or something like that. I'm not sure of all of the mechanic involved. And so you can throw ice on somebody and then an earth blob on them or something. I don't know. Or I'm sorry, water, and then freeze it. It's just all kinds of stuff. It's just such a blast. I watched this and listened to the demonstration of it, and I've instantly fallen in love with this. So I'm going to seek out trying to be involved in this as a beta tester or something, because I dig this.
Did they have a release date or beta date or anything?
So let's find out. Witchfire will square off against hordes of demonic enemies using both guns and magic. And while most of what they've seen of the game so far has focused on conventional firepower, a new trailer unveiled today at the Future Games show is all about the spells. They deal impressive damage on their own and also work in conjunction. Here, let me pause this. In conjunction with the game's weapons to amplify their destructive capabilities. So it looks like, let's see here.
Witchfire is later this year.
Yeah, later this year. And will be available for PC on the Epic Games store. So there you go, folks. If you need a reason to load up the Epic Games store like I've got sitting over here, you can get free games periodically. Pretty much every week you get another free game. I just got chess, and before that something else, I can't remember. Plus Unreal Engine allows you to make maps now for Fortnite, so there's a bonus. And there's a store, so you can start selling these maps. I'll be looking into that, see what that's all about. Pretty neat. I don't think the AI is going to be involved in playing this game, but
no, but it looks cool.
Mayor Watt will try. Hopefully I'll be able to stream it too. Okay, so let's keep on hustling through the news. This next article is in the Smash or Trash channel. And Ticketmaster faces class action lawsuit over Drake ticket prices this time. The Montreal-based firm LPC Avocat Incorporated claims that the ticketing behemoth intentionally misled consumers for their own financial gain. What? No.
No company would ever do that.
No company
trying to make money.
Come on. Madison Bloom over at pitchfork.com put this article together. And here is Drake going in December 2022. What the hell, Ticketmaster? Those prices are what? I mean, you'll have to look at that picture, folks.
I think that's what he's saying there.
Yep, that drive through ohmTown. Follow the link in the show notes, and it'll take you there. Let's see. According to the complaint obtained by the Toronto Star, a Montreal man purchased 2 official platinum seats for Drake's July 14th concert at the Bell Center, each costing just shy of $800.
Wow.
The following day, a new show was allegedly added to Ticketmaster with the same seats listed at roughly $350 less. So half price, baby. Well, but this is like a surge pricing thing, right? I wonder. I mean,
that official platinum is not the general admission tickets.
Right. Yeah. In the suit, LPC Avocat Incorporated alleges that Ticketmaster knew about the July 15th Drake concert in advance, but withheld the information. It also alleges that the official platinum seats were ordinary seats sold at artificially inflated premium in bad faith.
Okay, well, based on that, forget what I just said.
So, okay. Wait. So, okay, people are still going to be purchasing these seats, right? They purchase it for $800 each. Okay, so I'm trying to paint a picture here. Where in this calculus is Drake or LPC Avocat Incorporated actually irritated by this? Is it that they got a base price and Ticketmaster jacked that base price up and still had people paying $800 for a ticket? Or is LPC Avocat Incorporated actually pissed because they're not getting enough of that action?
Well, they're the law firm.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're speaking on behalf of their client. So I don't think Drake is the single entity Drake. I think he's got a corporation, right? But they're just using Drake as the thing. So let me rephrase it then. Is Drake pissed because he's not getting enough of that $800? Or is it because the company that represents Drake sold tickets to Ticketmaster in bulk for distribution, got the chunk of money, and Ticketmaster drove the prices up artificially, supply and demand mechanics here? They profit because let's say all of the tickets are $150 a pop across the board, right? And some people are paying $150 a ticket. Some people are paying $350 a ticket. But Drake got $150 a ticket for every single seat, filled or not. So they got a base price. They got the basement. They got the foundation. Everything above that is juice for Ticketmaster. So is the lawsuit actually because not enough money was transferred to Drake and that company?
Well, I don't think so, because it's a class action suit made up of consumers or customers.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that's not going on behind the scenes.
Right. So this Canadian law firm has filed a class action lawsuit against Ticketmaster over the prices of Drake's upcoming Drake's upcoming tour.
You heard it here first. He has a new furniture line coming out. I wonder if that'll be $800 per seat also.
Probably. Hopefully it's not Wayfair. And so yeah, see, we lost another sponsor. So so because it is a class action, it's purely a private entity that has a representative of the class, and that's anybody who's ever purchased anything from Ticketmaster, pretty much. It might be focusing on Drake's upcoming tour, but
right, we don't really know how the class was certified, but yeah, it's going to be ticket purchasers.
Yeah. Okay. So the idea that this is something even having to do with Drake is misinterpretation. Got it. Okay. So now I'm going to be really interested if the next prices for Drake's concerts are actually dramatically higher. Because now Drake knows exactly how much they're selling for.
Well, right. I mean, it's interesting because I don't see this helping out the consumers.
No, you heard it here first, folks. There's a really big chance that Drake's next tickets are going to be more expensive because a class action lawsuit is coming against Ticketmaster for artificially raising the price of tickets. Yet people were still buying them. Yeah. Price elasticity of demand, folks. This is what business school teaches you. Okay, let's keep on hustling through this. I sense that we can just hang out and chat about this stuff a lot longer. This one is going to be depressing because Deutsche Bank is a big bank, and the article is in the Daily News Show. But it was sourced from Newsweek. And Deutsche Bank collapse. Wow, this is hard to actually say. Deutsche Bank collapse risk grows as experts wait for next domino to fall.
When I saw this headline, I actually did a double take. I thought, did I actually read that correctly? Because that's a very well-known bank.
Yeah, you know who Deutsche Bank funds a lot of business? Well, maybe not a lot.
I do.
Would that be a former president?
Yes, it might be. I
Wow.
think we've seen that in the news quite a bit, but not recently.
Catherine Fung is the author of this over at Newsweek.com. And it says, it says the wrong thing. Deutsche Bank shares dropped 11% on Friday and have now fallen 29% since the 2023 banking crisis began, which is 2 weeks ago?
Well, I didn't know we were in a 2023 banking crisis. Like, if we're calling that, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Because considering right now there's a total of 4 that are involved, one that's completely collapsed. One that has collapsed, but has an actually very strong, very good bones. If it were a house, Silicon Valley Bank has good bones. But as somebody mentioned in another article that we talked about, if it weren't for venture capitalists telling all of its ventures to pull their money out and go elsewhere, Silicon Valley Bank's leverage would have still been available. They would have had enough liquid assets to still withstand this, although be in a pained position, at least based on my review of some numbers. But that said, others, because of this, have been exposed to stressors that are causing them to collapse, like Credit Suisse being acquired by UBS, which is a shock in and of itself, because UBS is rather young and Credit Suisse is something like 180 years old. Pretty old institution, brought down by poor risk management. And then there's
There was Signature Bank.
Signature, yeah.
And then you're right, there was something called First something, I think.
Yeah.
First National, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, Deutsche Bank is facing fears of a collapse after its shares dropped 11% on Friday, bringing the stocks down a total of 29% since March 8th. So, yeah, it's been 3 weeks and not even 3 weeks.
Sorry, so we've got Silvergate, Silicon Valley, and Signature, and then we know Credit Suisse as well.
Yeah, that other one's a tiny bank, if I remember right. The first one was a tiny bank, but still local. Anyway, we're still on edge, waiting for another domino to fall. Deutsche is clearly the next one on everybody's mind, fairly or unfairly, says Chris Beauchamp, chief market analyst at IG Group, who told Reuters this. It looks like the banking crisis hasn't been entirely put to bed. It's not a crisis. You're creating it. Don't make it a crisis, for crying out loud. It's all about risk and greed. Stop being risky. Stop being greedy. This is what happens. You created this world. God.
Well, I know, and I feel like it's like, oh my God, the banks are failing. And then it's like, okay, now the banks are failing.
The banks are failing because the banks are failing. They're not practicing what they're supposed to be doing, which is fiduciary duty to their clients. They're getting short-term gains, and then they make it a public burden, private profit and public burden. Y'all suck. Quit being greedy bastards. Okay, let's move on. The next article is in the Daily News Show as well. It was sourced from Business Insider, I believe it is. A town in North Carolina. Photos show how rising sea levels are washing away a small seaside town in North Carolina. That town is named Rodanthe. and it's a town on North Carolina's Outer Banks that made headlines last year when 3 homes collapsed into the sea. There was a time where going to one of these Outer Banks locations, I remember seeing a house far out on the dune and then going back a couple of years later and not seeing that house out on the dune. Because the tide had basically eaten the house and planted a whole new beach, like 300 yards or something like that out. I mean, it was like quite a distance. It was quite long from where the previous coast was. So another PSA, be careful where you build your beach house.
That's right.
So some residents are now moving their houses back from the sea, but it's a temporary solution. And that's because, here we go. Oh, this looks exactly like it.
Yes. Hey, I just looked up what the population of Rodanthe is, which I know doesn't represent how many houses there are, because there could be vacation homes and whatever,
Sure.
but there's only 198 people in Rodanthe. So the fact that they lost 3 houses last year, I'm kind of thinking is kind of significant.
Wow. That is significant. James Pasley over at businessinsider.com put this article together. And it's because they're saying that it's because rising sea levels. So yes and no. It's erosion. And so you need to really do some engineering if you're going to try and save this. But the problem is trying to fight nature with engineering is a losing battle and a costly one. You're going to have to build up a whole seawall and fill it with sand and protect
and replenish it, right?
Yeah.
It's not a one-time
well, I mean, if you build a seawall big enough and wide enough, then you don't have to, it will automatically fill.
That's true.
But if the water keeps rising, that's a different animal. So let's keep on talking about this. On May 10th, 2022, an unoccupied beach house in Rodanthe, North Carolina, collapsed into the sea. And that's just one of many. But this is pretty much every year. The beach sometimes comes and sometimes goes. And it's the ebb and flow of nature in a beach house. Let me pause this. The collapse was caught on video and went viral. It made national news. You don't often see houses falling into the sea and then bobbing in the waves, which is just horrible. But that's basically a twig house. So you know what wouldn't happen? If this was 3D printed, it would be like one giant brick just sitting there. And the water could probably walk right on up to it, up to the first window, and might trickle in, but a 3D printed house would still be there even after the floodwaters come to the roof. But we have this stuff, this bunch of twigs and wires, and it gets eaten away by nature really quick. So anyway, Rodanthe is located on Hatteras Island off the coast of North Carolina. It's one of many beach towns along the 200-mile stretch of islands called the Outer Banks. And yeah, those houses right here along the beach, and you won't be able to see this on the podcast, but if you go over to YouTube or Twitch within the next 60 days, but YouTube pretty much anytime, you'll be able to see this little snippet. And go ahead.
I was going to say, I just looked up a map because I was curious. I didn't know where it was on the coast of North Carolina, and it's kind of where I thought it might be. So the coast of North Carolina actually kind of sticks out into the ocean, if that makes sense, in one area, and that's kind of where this town is located. So it's probably getting the worst of storms and erosion and everything compared to some other towns that are a little further in. I mean, they're still obviously touching the ocean if they're oceanfront, but it's just in like the worst part where the coastline, it kind of heads out toward the ocean, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's basically jutting out into the ocean more and thumbing its nose at nature. Well, guess what? nature is definitely... Rodanthe is punching above its weight class, that's for sure. Almost 40 years ago, Robert Dolan, a coastal geologist at the University of Virginia, pointed out the Outer Banks' unique position, leaving itself open to damaging violent storms, which is what the AI just said. It's basically thumbing its nose at nature. The local photographer Michael Halminski told Yale Environment 360 an estimated 50 homes had collapsed into the sea since the 1970s, and that's all beach erosion.
Well, look how close. I mean, I'm sure they weren't when they were built, but look, they look like they're in the ocean right now. I don't mean the collapsed house, but
yeah, they're pretty damn close.
yes.
Look at that.
But again, they could have been built decades ago and we're not. Yes. I mean,
this is a home named Wavebreaker being pummeled by waves in 2014. I love this because it actually has a sign that says for rent on it still.
I also like it because it looks like it belongs in something like Lemony Snicket or I'm thinking of that odd house over the lake.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, oh wow, it actually tore a hole right through the whole the whole thing. I mean the island, it's now like an island.
That's a road.
That's not a road. The road's going parallel to these houses.
Oh, I thought that was an access road right there going perpendicular, but maybe not.
This is all washed out. This might be a road, maybe. I don't know. But the beach is just walking right on into wherever the inside is here. This is horrible. Well, I'd say either somebody very wealthy or the state wants to keep Rodanthe, and then thus build up a seawall that parallels this to act as a breaker. But I suspect that this is a lost cause and it's going to slowly go away. Loses 13 feet of sand each year, and some parts of the town have lost 200 feet since the early 2000s. So, yeah. This whole thing this is pretty common. Water right up to the doorstep. People rebuild their stairs down to their beach, sometimes every year. So, yeah, this isn't unique. But you pay to play.
The number of houses lost and the number of houses percentage-wise lost, I would say, is unique.
Wow, this house was moved 50 feet further back, and now they're going to plant it again just in time for the beach to be eroded again.
Exactly.
This is silly.
I think I might go for 100 or 200 feet. I don't know.
Yeah, or another state maybe. I don't know. It might be cheaper to just build your own ocean, and at least you can control it and buy a really powerful wave machine. Well, that's it, folks. That's we have one more article. I'm sorry, we have one more article, and that's this one here, where it's a bunch of snacks and drinks that apparently we will never see again. Food company, beloved snacks and beverages that you can never buy again, from Tab to Purple Ketchup. I've never had Purple Ketchup, but I have tasted Tab. Food companies regularly discontinue items that they don't sell or don't sell well. Many culled products during the pandemic to focus on top-selling products. Examples of decommissioned grocery items from the past few decades include Odwalla juice, which I've never had, New Coke, Purple Ketchup. Here are 12 products from consumer packaged food companies seemingly now gone forever. This is over at Business Insider as well. And everybody, I encourage you to go over to Business Insider and look at these pictures. They're always awesome pictures. Alex Bitter put this article together for businessinsider.com. I won't go through all of them because I want you to go over to Business Insider and check them out. But Crystal Pepsi, Tab is like the fan favorite because it's always talked about when you talk about banned products. But this thing has been banned since 1985 or something like that. Sales of Tab declined after Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi came along. Finally, in 2020, Coke said that it would discontinue the soda at the end of the year. Are you telling me that
I thought
Tab?
it was gone for decades before that.
Yeah, me too. But even until its demise, Tab had its fans. One woman insider interviewed in 2020 even ran a website to help Tab drinkers find the sodas for sale as its distribution dwindled. So yeah, not until 2020. I thought it was gone. Funky Purple Easy Squirt Heinz Ketchup. I won't even talk about it. Whatever happened to Honest Tea? I thought that
I thought,
was pretty good.
yeah, and I thought that was still around. Oh, I guess it was until recently.
Yeah. Then in 2022, Coke said that it would eliminate Honest Tea. Odwalla juice. Oh, I have had Odwalla. Well, wait, no. I've had something that looked like Odwalla, but it wasn't called Odwalla. What is that? Wasn't it
Oh,
called
it's
like
like
Nature?
naked juice or
Naked.
something,
That's
I
what it
think. But
is.
you're right, it looks very similar to that.
Yeah, it's called Naked. This is Odwalla. Anyway, another casualty of Coca-Cola's pandemic era branding cut. Odwalla. It was acquired in 2001 for 181 million, and in 2020 pulled the plug. Wow. Let's see. Oh, and then it says private equity firm Full Sail IP Partners acquired the brand in 2021, but so far there's no signs of Odwalla coming back. Yeah, it's because Naked is the one that looks almost identical to it. Even that green drink, this right here. I
I
swear
thought
I've
we've
purchased
had it,
these.
but I think you're right. I think it was a different brand.
You know what? I can go to the store tomorrow and I will be able to find these sitting exactly where I purchased them like a year ago because I stopped purchasing them. Anyway, let's keep on scrolling through this. Oreo Magic Dunkers. Unusual colors in food weren't limited to ketchup. In 2000, Nabisco, the maker of Oreos at the time, released a version of the sandwich cookie that changed color of an accompanying glass of milk to blue. All right. So that went away in 2019. Snackwells. I don't recall ever having a Snackwell. I've heard the name Snackwells.
They're kind of like a healthier cookie. They're pretty good.
No. Snackwells. Anyway, Crystal Pepsi, New Coke, Frito-Lay Go snacks. That's just a packaging thing.
But that's a good idea. Like put it in a cup holder shape.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's very kid-friendly, I'd say. Smokey Robinson frozen dinners. Wow.
I've never heard of or seen those, I don't think.
It was only around for 5 years. Right? Motown legend Smokey Robinson decided to expand his career to a new industry by starting a food company in 2004. The meals were sold for a few years before being discontinued around 2009, according to the Discontinued Foods Twitter account. And Yoj, which is yogurt and fruit juice.
I guess it's kind of like a smoothie.
Yeah, I suppose so. It says shake well. You better shake very well. See, but like a smoothie that's forever, you know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't the stuff mix together? Yeah, but even if you were to blend it all back together, doesn't it seem like it'll reconstitute, but over time, doesn't it seem like it will break it down into even more of its elemental components?
Yes.
Not just separate, but like break down the yogurt from the acids from the juice. You know?
Yeah, it might. I don't know. Maybe it has like a 2-day Best Buy or something.
Kemps did not immediately respond to insiders' questions about exactly when Yoj was discontinued or why, but the brand's replies on Twitter to Yoj devotees make clear that the product isn't on shelves anymore. but apparently it doesn't it hasn't stopped fans from asking for its return. And there's over 1,000. Oh no, it fell short of its goal of 1,000 signatures on change.org.
Well, that's kind of sad.
These were 30 years ago, I thought. Yeah. 1985 until 2001. There's a few more over on the website. There's a few more details. I think we've gone through all 12. But anyway, if you want to learn more about this, then head on over to Business Insider. Follow that link through ohmTown over to Business Insider and check it out. Purple ketchup.
I don't remember ever seeing purple ketchup.
Yeah, me neither. But as usual, you can go over to ohmTown.com and get a whole bunch of news. There was an earlier one that was political, but it was funny because I was listening to this actually happen. Marjorie Taylor Greene went to a prison where the J6 people are being housed, and it's horrendous treatment and all of this kind of stuff, but they have like air conditioning and stuff. And there was somebody that was protesting her by blowing a whistle nonstop. And now she's complaining that she was, quote unquote, assaulted by a person with the whistle, because the person was actually very nice about it. When a reporter or somebody wanted to ask her a question, they stopped. But when she started talking, they blew that whistle loud. I mean, it's rude. It's inconsiderate, and it is a form of protest. And under no circumstances should anybody be charged with blowing a whistle near somebody. I mean, if it's right in their ear, then I can understand.
Yeah, that would be one thing.
You're actually causing physical harm, like actual physical harm. But anyway, these people stormed the Capitol, and they're literally trying to pull a Putin and saying that they were just there for a tour. They were visiting. You know what? You're a dipshit. You're just from end to end, just 100% USDA grade bullshit. Anyway, don't be a Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's my PSA for everybody else. Anyway, that's actually in here somewhere in the news. I didn't. Oh, there it is, right there. Marjorie Taylor Greene says that she was assaulted by a whistle at DC jail visit. Yeah. Come on. And they'll all be tried for the evidence that has been gathered and presented. And no amount of pulling a Putin is going to make this, their Crimea. They're not visiting. They weren't just hanging out. They were climbing all over it like ants trying to get to a sugary drink. Except that these ants wanted to lynch people, including the vice president, for not supporting this wingnut. Anyway, okay, that's it. I'm out of here. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. Up there is the AI that, well, might maybe keep me out of trouble someday. I don't know. What do you think? Nah, never mind. Don't answer that. You want to say bye?
Good night, ohmTown citizens. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
And in that update, Stream Deck isn't working now either.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Learn something new. See you in a little bit, everybody. Bye-bye.